Hey guys, Magnus Robert here, and welcome to another family tree of the Walking Dead. So last time we actually looked at the Grimes tree, and I briefly showed Andrea's connection to Shane through their sexual relationship. I said back then that I was going to leave out expanding Andrea's tree because it was a whole other can of worms, but today we're going to be doing that. So starting off, we have Andrea Harrison, who of course dies in season 3 after she commits suicide after being bitten by Milton, and of course Milton was stabbed by the governor, so you can attribute her death to Philip Blake, aka the governor. Now we actually learn a little bit about Andrea's parents in the Survival Instinct game. So her father is called Terry and her mother is unnamed, so here she's just known as Mrs. Harrison. So Terry is a former soldier and a retired banker. Daryl actually meets them both in their house. Mrs. Harrison is bitten by a walker and eventually dies, and Terry puts her down. Now Terry's fate is technically determined in the game. He can die by walkers and be found by Daryl, but if he doesn't, he later gets on a helicopter which is piloted by a man who has been bitten. So it can be assumed that either way, Terry is also dead. So that's why I've put in the cross next to his name, even though there is a slim, tiny chance he could be alive. Of course, Terry had another daughter other than Andrea, which is of course Amy Harrison. Now, Amy of course dies in season 1. Andrea of course had to kill Amy when she reanimated into a walker. Now I've decided to also include Dale Horruth as a father figure to both Andrea and Amy. Although there is no adoption or anything, it was just a nice way to include Dale on the tree. Now Dale of course died in season 2 after he was attacked and gutted by a walker and then put down by Daryl Dixon. Before the apocalypse, Dale was actually married to a woman called Irma Horruth, and Irma eventually developed cancer, and Dale retired and was planning to travel Irma across the country in their new RV, but she died before it could happen. That's why the RV has Irma's name on the side of it, if you can notice. Now, before she died, the two did try to have children, and they did successfully conceive, but unfortunately this child was miscarried. So, yeah, very sad. Anyway, going back to Andrea. As well as her connection to Shane, she also dated Philip Blake, aka the governor. Now, we actually learn about the governor's parent, or his father at least, and his brother. But of course, before we get to that, we know that the governor was killed in season 4 by Lily Chamber after Michonne had mortally wounded him. So, moving on, Philip's brother is here, but we also learn about Philip's father, who was abusive to both him and his brother. One time they were both caught smoking by their father, who of course beat both boys as punishment, even though his brother tried to stand up to their father. The question mark on both Philip's brother and his father is to signify that we don't actually know if they are alive or dead, but the way that the governor speaks about them, they likely are. I just haven't fully put the cross there, just because there is always that slim chance that they could be alive. Now, there is a slight chance that the Philip's brother, aka the governor's brother, could be called Brian, because in the novels and comics, that is the name of his brother. Although technically speaking, the governor is called Brian in the comics and his brother is Philip. It's a whole other thing that I'm not going to get into, but it's never fully confirmed in the show. That's why he's just known here as Philip's brother and not as Brian Blake. Anyway, before the outbreak, Philip was married to a woman who we don't really know the name of, but so that's why she's just called Mrs. Blake. But she unfortunately died in a car accident a few weeks before the outbreak began. Together they had a daughter called Penny Blake, But Penny sadly died and turned sometime after the outbreak began. Philip had Milton, his resident scientist, trying to work up a cure, but nothing worked, and eventually Michonne puts down Philip's zombified daughter. After the governor, of course, after this happened, at some point, the governor started a sexual relationship with this woman called Rowan. Now, Rowan is the one who gave Andrea and Michonne to Tora Woodbury. We don't really see her much after that, and we don't actually see her die, but it is confirmed that she dies off screen, either at the prison or in the governor's massacre. The last person the governor dated was, of course, Lily Chamber, who died off screen shortly after she executed the governor. After the governor killed his Woodbury militia, he was out on the road and eventually stumbled upon Lily and her family, taking particular interest in Lily's daughter, Megan Chamber. I can never say their surname. So, Lily had Megan with her ex-husband, who we don't actually know the fate of, but Megan unfortunately dies via zombie bite after her new father figure Philip is out doing a war. Philip puts her down before she turns. That's partially what causes Lily to execute Philip Blake. Someone else the governor put down was Lily's father, who was called David. So he turned after a long battle with lung cancer. David was a veteran and also drove a food truck, which actually provided him and his family food to survive in the apartment block, letting them last in safety for a while. David's other daughter was Tara Chamber, who was a rookie in the police academy. Tara, of course, lasted all the way till season 9, when she was sadly beheaded by Alpha. Before the outbreak, Tara actually dated a woman called Sam. The cross there is actually a mistake because we never actually learn the fate of Sam. Sam broke up with Tara after she took some magic mushrooms and discovered that she was a heterosexual. I'm not making that up. After Tara and her family joined Martinez's camp, Tara starts to date a woman called Alicia. But this relationship didn't last long. Of course, Alicia was killed by Lily Samuels in the battle for the prison. So, Tara's third known girlfriend was, of course, Denise Cloyd. Now, Denise was the resident Alexandrian doctor, although she was more trained in psychiatry because she dropped out of actual med school early on, but she had some doctoring knowledge. Of course, Denise is killed by Dwight by accident near the end of season 6. So we actually learn in that same episode that Denise had a twin brother who her parents, who we don't know the fate of, named Dennis. Funny little joke. Now, Dennis was obviously very important to Denise, and sort of he was told to be very brave and all that. But Dennis sadly died at some point, I think, at the start of the apocalypse or before the apocalypse. And of course, this really hurt Denise. So that's it for the family tree. Next time, I'm going to be looking at the Dixon tree, and I'm also going to probably do an extra little mini one as well, because the Dixon tree isn't that big and there's not many threads that come off it, unlike this one. So thanks for watching. Tell me your thoughts. Do you enjoy these trees? Do you want to see more? Or are you sick of them already? Let me know. Goodbye.